The following announcement has been paid for by the Wrestling Epicenter.
Hey guys.
Hello, ladies. Remember me? Let me talk to you, dummies.
It's now time.
It's Vader time. TikTok.
It's showtime!
For the longest running wrestling talk show in history.
We are huge. It's gonna be cool.
You're where it's at.
You're smart like me.
Tune in each and every week.
But you better keep listening, or I'll come out of your computer
And turn it on for you.
or else I'm gonna kick your stinking teeth in.
We've been known by a few names.
The needs of the many far outweigh the needs of the few.
The Interactive Interview.
Interactive interview. Oh, yeah.
Interactive interview.
The interactive interview.
Interactive interview. The interactive interview.
The Blaze.
Blaze 1260 AM. The Blaze.
The Blaze.
Blaze. The Blaze rock.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive radio.
Interactive Radio. Testify. Interactive Wrestling Radio.
And a lot of other names.
Weekend Warriors of Wrestling. The Pile Driver. The Pile Driver.
3 Count Wrestling.
The Hour Slam.
But it's all one show. The Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter. The Wrestling Epicenter.
The Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter, dude.
The Wrestling Epicenter. Don't get off.
And your host from day one,
By ignorance or arrogance.
James Walsh.
Wake up, sleepyheads.
Dr. Cheryl Rusa.
It all starts
Oh, tough guy.
Thank you very much.
Rush. Dumbed down.
Get out of my face. You win.
But I'm desperately out of time. So what you gonna do when Blaze Mania runs wild on you?
now.
Wake up, sleepyheads. It's party time. My name is James Walsh, and this is another edition of Interactive Wrestling Radio, continuing our series of interviews with the classic girls from the gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, the original version that was on television in the 80s and early 90s, and a pay-per-view that I only just recently discovered in 1993. This week we have on Lightning, Cheryl Rusa, who actually also went on to wrestle in the LPWA, who we've spoken to about with Jim Cornette and Ken Resnick and a couple other guys that were a part of the LPWA. We have her compare the two. Really interesting answer to that. And the story about Jim Carrey and the kick she gave as instructed by Judo Gene LaBelle is one of my favorite stories that I've heard on this show in a few months, if not years. Really good story. Hope you guys enjoy it. If you haven't already, check it out. We also have the Cody Rhodes AEW media call that we were a part of up from earlier this week. Last week's guest was the Royal Hawaiian and a Stevie Ray interview that made some headlines because he says that Dave Meltzer has the skin of a Gila monster. In addition, we also have Hollywood, who was on the same show as Wildcat Chris Harris. So we've had a lot of great guests, both from Glow and outside of Glow, joining us. Next week we'll have Dr. Tom Pritchard joining us. And hopefully we're going to get somebody in from Ring of Honor, because they have a pay-per-view coming up. It's coming up real soon. Want to definitely get some work done to promote Ring of Honor, who's finding their footing after a shaky 2019. Hope you guys enjoy this interview. Want to thank Cheryl Rusa. She is Lightning from the original Glow, for taking the time to do this with us. And check out WrestlingEpicenter.com, as well as Wrestling Epicenter on Facebook. Facebook.com/Wrestling Epicenter.
Hi, this is Ivory from WWE, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview.
Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. On the Newsmaker line with us right now is another star from the original Glow, gorgeous ladies of wrestling. I said gorgeous women of wrestling when I interviewed the Royal Hawaiian last week. So
Oh, I'm sure she corrected you.
she corrected me. I don't know why I did that either, but it is Lightning. Cheryl Rusa, are you on the line with us, ma'am?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Let me tell you what most people say is glorious. It's like, wait a minute, that's what usually gets corrected.
Yeah, I've heard glorious, glamorous, and gorgeous, and it's always been gorgeous, though, hasn't it?
Yes, it has, but that's usually the mistake. Then the other one that you just said, it's usually they say glamorous or glorious. It's like, wait a minute.
There you go. So the standard question to ask you guys is kind of a basic one. You probably get asked it in every interview you'll ever do, but I got to ask it anyway. How'd you get involved in the crazy, wild world of wrestling?
Well, I was a trainer at a gym, and I worked for these two great guys, Ray and Mike Menzer. They were huge, like Arnold Schwarzenegger era bodybuilders. Like,
oh boy.
You can look them up. You can find their massive frames on tons of photo rows of that era of tons of bodybuilders. And I was training people for them. They trained me to train people. And I was training this one guy who worked in the movie industry. And I always wanted to be involved in the movie industry. And I just started talking to him every time I had a session with him. I'm like, well, I'd like to do it, but I mean, I don't know anybody. And he's just told me anybody can do it. And started kind of coaching me one step at a time at what to do. Until I understood what was going on, because it's a lot of people like me come from families that have nothing to do with movie industry, and you have no idea or concept where to begin. Anyway, I was watching the Glow show on the first season's episodes of it, and with a boyfriend, and he's all, hey, check out this show. So I start watching this show, and I'm checking it out, and I'm thinking, this is stupid. and I said it out loud, and he starts laughing at me, and I'm like, what? He's all, you're just jealous. I'm like, what do you mean I'm jealous? You're just jealous. They're on TV, and you're not. And I'm like, nuh-uh. He's like, uh-huh. And I'm like, nuh-uh. And back and forth. Oh, back and forth. He got me so mad. Like a brother, would get mad with a, right?
Yep.
So, the sibling, right? And then a week later, the show comes on again, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to try and watch this stupid show because he likes it. So, I'm watching the show, and I'm looking at what they're doing, and I'm such a tomboy. I'm thinking, I can do that. And I said I could do that. And he starts laughing at me again. And I go, what? He's all, they kick your ass. I'm like, no. He's all, uh-huh. Back and forth again. Nuh-uh, uh-huh. God, he got me so freaking mad. Then at the end of the show, they were actually looking for new girls because they had lost a bunch of their original girls to McLean. He split off. And they had a tag at the end, if you think you've got the stuff to be a Glow girl. He made me so, infuriated me so badly. I faked a resume, sent him a photo, because I was bodybuilding all the time. Not like competing, but I looked like I could have been competing. That's what I was trying to strive for at that point. And they called me. And I just made a bunch of cuts. And then last cut was going to Vegas. And I was there with, just under maybe 70 girls.
Wow.
And we just trained 8 hours a day, 4-hour morning session, 4-hour evening session. And it just wheedled down to who didn't break something and who could handle the wrestling. And I was a very coordinated tumbler type of a person, tomboy. So I just kept making all the cuts. Plus I was bodybuilding too. So
I've heard you say that in a few interviews that you kind of forged your resume a little bit. You maybe padded it out a little bit with some untruths. What did you say? What was untrue about what you said in there?
Oh, for them, I had nothing. I never did anything in the movie industry when I got there. Because of that one guy I was training, he got me taking, I had like 2 acting classes, not like 6-week classes. One was improv and another one was scene study. So I put that down, and I think I fudged another class down, like training, and then I said I was in a play or 2 at school, that sort of thing. Because it just looked like this big blank paper. You know?
I'm with you.
And right. So, and I did do a student film where I was a kissing girl at a kissing booth that tells some guy no way in hell I'm going to kiss him, basically. So that was it. That was the extent of my acting. So when I got there, I was so scared and new at anything to do in front of a camera. When it came with the athletic stuff, I was having fun. It was for me, it was like jumping on a steep roller coaster. It's yeah, you know?
There you go. Now, Glow has... It's kind of gone through a couple of phases, I've found, as a fan, because I was a kid when I was watching it. I'm 38 now, so I was 7, 8, 9 years old when it was on. I watched it.
That was the demographic. 7 to 40 something.
Pretty
crazy demographic.
Pretty big demographic. Yeah, and it was cool because the kids could watch it even though it was attractive girls, and the guys are watching it maybe because it was attractive girls, and you got a lot of different things going on there. So it was such a great mix. Did you guys have any idea that what you were creating there, something you called stupid when you first saw it, would still be so special now to so many people?
Oh God, we were just doing our job. We were having fun, and I definitely was trying to I wanted a stepping stone into the movie industry, and that's what that was to me, a stepping stone into the movie industry, and just a lot of fun. I mean, before that, a weekly paycheck, I was working at a gym and everything, which was interesting, but a week's worth of pay was half of what we were getting in Glow, which still wasn't a lot of money. But compared to what a normal job was, I was having fun and getting paid.
Awesome.
What else do you want, Ooh, and I'm going to be on TV,
Very good. Yeah, absolutely. Now, after Glow, and we spoke to Hollywood about 2 weeks ago, and she said that yourself and her used to do independent shows after Glow, and I think she made the comment that maybe we should ask you about it more because she thinks maybe you got more razzing about your wrestling skills than others because you came from Glow. Would you say that's a fair statement?
Yeah, because basically I left Glow and got hooked up through somebody knew me somehow, and I ended up wrestling for an indie league called AIWA. I did 1 or 2 shows that they had there, and somehow through them, Tor Berg had found me for the LPWA.
Yep.
Now, at this point, I was basically Glow trained, which is choreographed, stunty type training.
Right.
I mean, it was wrestling, but it wasn't. It was it was incomplete training, and they were, they were forgetting the names and stuff. So all these standard wrestling names were renamed by Glow. So when somebody had asked me if I knew some move or shoot some name out of a move, I didn't know what they were talking about. Until I was retrained. But at this point, Tor and LPWA promised me training, and then they were going to do their show. They wanted me, but they started their show before they started the training, which was aggravating. So I got in there with all these girls that had pro training, I had a leg up on most of those girls when it came to TV time and stuff like that. So they were, just taking advantage of my incomplete training in the ring. They were shooting, basically. Not all of them, but 90% of them. And the real professionals, those are the ones who took care of me in the ring. And they let me have my moments. And that's the difference I found out between a pro and somebody who's just, full of themselves, stuck up, kind of. It's a moment in any wrestler's time when they're feeling their oats, kind of a thing.
Right. You don't have to answer this, but
LPWA.
Yeah, you don't have to answer this, but where did Medusa Michelli fall into that mixture? Was she taking liberties, or was she a pro's pro?
Oh, she was stiff, but that's only because she trained out of her major training came from being a year in Japan.
Right.
She was a pro. She was a pro's pro. Wonderful woman. Fun, and she could wipe the map with anybody, and she did her best to make me go over and give me, some moments. Her, Leilani Kai, Judy Martin, Adriana Linda Street were really cool to me. Sue Sexton, who completed my training. Once I was completely trained, then I knew what was going on. And then I ended up over in Japan, where I learned how to really, really be between Sue Sexton and I had some time with Jesse Hernandez, wonderful trainer. Also, Alex Knight, a wonderful trainer. And, I'm sorry, I'm running at Mondo Guerrero, who trained for a few weeks the original pilot girls of Glow. So I had some awesome trainers. I guess what Jeannie was getting at is that I was trained hardcore at that point. Jeannie had some training with Mondo and some training with me. She knew she moved really well in the ring, natural athlete, but I just gave her some, new moves here or there. And I drug her into my indie world after that. I just got one indie match after another after LPWA in Japan. And her and I did a lot of matches together and other odds and ends. She would drag me into her modeling world. She had a lot of modeling jobs. I wasn't exactly a model, but she'd get me jobs and I'd get her jobs. We just bounced back and forth off each other. It was really cool.
That's awesome. And you guys are still friends to this day?
Oh yeah. She's my bud. She's my bro, as I would call it. She's my bro.
So I've interviewed a few people, and we've talked about LPWA. I've interviewed Medusa. There's a couple other folks. Jim Cornette was an announcer for LPWA for a little bit. Kind of comparing the two, it seems like there's more of a nostalgic fondness from the fans towards Glow than it is towards LPWA. Any idea why that might be?
Yes, because Glow did characters, and that's why your favorite wrestlers from any of the WWF, WWE, WCW, any of them, the ones you remember are the ones that developed characters. We had to develop a character. I mean, even in LPWA, Little Mo, I did what I could with her, but you need to develop this bigger in life, and the ones that people remember had like a specific something that the fans could grab onto. Hercules would swing his chain and do his Hercules thing. Brutus the Barber ran around trying to cut people's hair. Jake the Snake drag a snake into the ring. I mean, if you think, what are your favorites? If you pop up into your head, look at Hulk Hogan.
Right.
You think he was
just
like
named my
this
favorite,
phenomenal tech? Was Hulk a phenomenal technician and a ground pounding big giant? I mean, he was just he had all his wrestling basics down, and he would like suck the audience right into his world. That's the difference. LPWA did not do that at all, and they tried to make the women like a female WWE. You know, like they had the interviews and that. But Glow, we had sketches and personality. Each girl had their own distinct personality tied into their character. That's the difference.
Absolutely.
The wrestling on LPWA was top notch. The wrestling on Glow was not top notch. It was fun and over the top, basically.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that might even, like you just said, might even be more preferred by people.
Well, they want the comedy. They want the comedy. They want the bravado and just personalities that, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Grab you.
Exactly. I'm a big proponent of going over the top, so yeah, I'm with you. We'll get into your stunt work a little bit in a moment, but I wanted to ask you, why did you not, for example, Tina Ferrari, who was in Glow, became Ivory in the WWF, and she was a natural fit. Did you never, have the desire to go to the WWE and work there?
Oh, I had that desire. I think maybe somewhere down the line I sent them a letter or something, but they never responded. At the time, even Ivory was small, but she was 5'4".
Right.
But I'm like 5 foot barely. And at the time, my time, you know,
yeah,
they wanted either a steroid pushing heavy, huge China bodybuilder, or they wanted your sexy boobed bombshell. That's what they were looking for. For them to take on Ivory was a fluke and wonderful. She had a good connection. They loved her. She was great. Her character was great. She was had a lot of bodybuilding look about her, but I think I was just not what they wanted. Plus, LPWA kind of put a damper on my pro career when they let the girls beat the tar out of me. There, at that era, the pro thought was you were either a jobber or you were, you know, whatever. And I had to learn on camera how to deal with these girls that were basically trying to pummel me because they hated Glow girls. This is what Jeannie was talking about.
Yeah.
They hated Glow with a passion. All of them did. 99% of them did. And they thought that the Glow girls were nothing but models who rolled around and pulled hair. Basically, we might as well have been mud wrestlers to them.
Oh man, that's unfair. That's certainly unfair.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. You know, it happened the way it happened. I mean, when I left LPWA, because of the publicity I had, or the connection with pros tied into LPWA. After that, the LPWA was still going. A lot of the girls were under contract, so I was a free agent. I started doing all kinds of indie shows. I ended up over in Japan, which was awesome, best place in the world. If you've never wrestled in Japan, you're missing out on a career highlight. So basically, I got to run around and jump from state to state to state, and even go back for the Glow pay-per-view. When I went back to do Glow for the pay-per-view, I was wrestling circles around the girls. That not only were they not trained all the way, they hadn't been in the ring for 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
Jeannie was one of the only girls who was still fresh. So her and I ripped it up when we came back for the pay-per-view. And then they edited my match. And it looks like for the pay-per-view, they edited my match, and it looks like I did nothing, which pissed me off.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I take it was not a live pay-per-view.
No. Well, they shot it live.
Right.
People who saw it. But no, I'm sorry. It did not air live. You're correct. It did not air live. It was not a live pay-per-view.
Yeah, I thought it was...
I'm sorry. I didn't catch that for a second.
Yeah, I remember watching it when I was a kid. It was on pay-per-view, and it's like, here's Glow, and I thinking, well, I hadn't seen that in a few years, so it was cool to see it come back even if it was just a one-time, on TV.
It was a tease. We thought we were going to come back, and I thought, and I got to be a bad guy. They Hollywood corrupted me, and I became Lightning, the party animal.
Yep.
And I'm like, yes, I get to be a bad guy. Everybody. All the good girls wanted to be bad guys. Everybody wanted to be a bad guy. My partner Thunder wanted to be a bad guy. I mean, so did I, but I was happy to be on the show. I don't care, and I loved Batman and Robin, so I just grabbed onto that character and did the best I could with that character.
Very cool. Something you did. You did.
I thought it had to be campy.
Yep. So in another interview, I heard you seem really proud of the fact that you got the dropkick Jim Carrey on the set of Man on the Moon. What was that experience like, and what was the view from the Hollywood folks towards wrestling on the set? Because that was such a big part of Andy Kaufman's life.
Well, they took it seriously, the movie people, they take it seriously, and the pro wrestling, and they don't look at it quite the way, a pro does. I have the advantage of being Glow and pro, which is an advantage, to see things from two different directions. They didn't understand what the respect is, the respect of being a pro. They didn't understand that, but they did. They actually, something bad happened. I wasn't there. It's in the story, but one of the old-timer pros there got into it with somebody over something. I wish I could remember the story for you. Maybe I can look it up and, talk to some of the guys and figure it out. But for the most part, they respected everybody. Andy, not Andy Kaufman, I'm sorry. Jim Carrey.
Well, he became Andy in that movie. He was just insanely good in that role.
And we were told not to talk to him or call him Jim or Andy, we had to call him Andy or Mr. Kaufman, because he was stuck into that role. He did not want the stunt double, which was a dead-on double for him. He had a wonderful stunt double, nice guy. He did not want him to do the wrestling, so he insisted on doing the wrestling. With me, I was supposed to do a hair whip. When you just fling somebody from one end of the ring to the other by the hair.
Yep.
And we had to show each move, and Mondo Guerrero was there as a TA, and so each stunt girl that had to do something had to show the move. And me and Mondo, since we were both pros, he just looked at me and we went for it. We had that eye contact, and we did this huge hair mare. I went from one side of the ring to the other, and it freaked everybody out. They went into these huddles and conversations and stuff, and they were all worried that it would look too violent, and that because he's so big and I'm so little, and they finally came back with, "Can you do a drop kick?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Well, you sure? How high can you do a drop kick?" And I'm like, "I can get up pretty high." So I drop kicked Mondo in the head to show them. I just went up and bam, they're like, "Okay." And he was a lot bigger than Mondo, but if I could get Mondo in the head, I could get him in the chest. Yep. That's all I needed, right?
That's right.
And right before we were shooting that segment, Gene LaBelle, Judo Gene LaBelle comes
God.
up to me because I
He's
don't
such a
know what
legend.
really was said, but I think he didn't like their whatever they were saying, because I think he was trying to tell them that I was a pro wrestler, and they're like, oh, but she's so little and she'll break, or I don't know what they were saying. He told me, make them feel it.
Yes, sir.
I'm like, that's right. That's exactly right. You do not say no to Gene LaBelle. He said, make him feel it. And then he turned around after he said that and he looked back at me and said, but don't hurt him. I'm like, thumbs up, okay. I'm like, shit. So I hit him. He was worried about the timing, but us wrestlers, we've got impeccable timing.
Right.
He turned away from me with holding a belt in his hand, the intergender championship. He started on me, moved away across, and then back with the belt towards me. And right when he landed, his gaze at me is when I was supposed to hit him. And I nailed him. I basically mule kicked him from the ground up. It was just the easiest way to get up. And I decided I was just going to hit him like I would a pro. I didn't try to shoot with him, but a normal person hitting him like a pro is probably pretty stiff to them. I whiplashed him, pretty badly. And then we finished, kind of just grappling around and stuff. And that's it. They didn't want to do it again. Everybody else was getting 2 and 3 takes, and he only wanted to do it once with me. He did not want to do it again. I got out of the ring, and Gene LaBelle came up to me. He's all shook his head at me and gave me his yeah, good job. And then I sat down next to one of the other stunt guys that were there, and he looked at me. He's all, do you know how hard you hit him? I go, I don't know. I take the fifth.
There you go. There's a video out there that Roddy Piper shot, and Gene LaBelle's in it. And when Gene LaBelle's speaking, Roddy Piper, who at this point, was retired, he was out of wrestling, but this respect he showed for Gene LaBelle when he spoke, he was like, he might as well have been a 10-year-old child. Just everything he said was gospel, and he was listening so intently. There's just such a respect there. It was incredible to watch. All right. So that kind of was my next question, and we're going to wrap up with just 2 more questions because we're almost at time. I have a couple of people that I know that were female wrestlers that kind of just fell into stunt work. Is it just a natural transition to go from wrestling to stunt work?
Well, wrestling is a great base for stunt work, but stunt work's its own thing. You really have to have balls to do stunts. And people I would run into would say, oh, how do you do that? I want to do that. But they don't want to, jump off a building or be lit on fire, or there's all these other skills that you have to learn. And I think that the few people that did, they took that next step. It's like when I went from Glow to LPWA, I had to step up my game and learn to complete my training. And then when I completed my training, I even stepped up from there, going to Japan.
Yep.
So it's the same thing with stunts. I had a great base with the wrestling. So what did I do? I joined a circus guy and learned how to circus bareback ride on horses, because that's a skill set, and I always wanted to ride horses. So I took that step to learn a new skill. So you learn a new skill, and then some stunt guy will approach you and say, I need you to do a high fall. And I'd say, well, I don't know how to do high falls. And then he said, well, we'll train you. So if they want you specifically, they will train you specifically for the job. Now, the newer stunt kids that are out there now, they are coming in, they are parkour / martial art / actor / gymnast. And so they're coming in with all these rad skills that they've been training because of all the stuff that's been out now that wasn't out back when we were kids. I mean, they want to be the next Jackie Chan or, name your superhero, Marvel superhero character.
There you go. Awesome.
Yeah, so the training is a lot. But back then, it's basically a mentorship, A stunt guy would take you under his wing and then bring you along as he went. I'm proud to say I was one of the last of that era where a stunt coordinator took me under his wing, is what it's called.
Awesome.
And basically said I had I was a true heart, or I had heart, which means I had guts to go for it.
Awesome.
I can thank the wrestling for that and my brother torturing me when I was a kid.
So you guys will be appearing at the Cauliflower Alley Club. How cool is it to get in front of the fans these days and to have everybody who grew up watching Glow kind of get a chance to see you guys now and maybe reminisce a little bit with you guys?
Oh, it's great. I mean, we've had some great interviews over there, and then I've run into the LPWA girls there, which is awesome. I've run into some of the pro wrestlers that you remember from the past that I worked with on indie shows, and and some of them you can't even recognize. They approach me, and it takes me a second. I think maybe I've hit my head one too many times when I can't remember people's names. But it's so much fun. It really is. If anybody hasn't gone, and who doesn't want to take a trip to Vegas, right? You got a trip. You got a twofer, a threefer, whatever. You got the banquets. You got the little nostalgia room where you can look at memorabilia and stuff, and then you can go hit the strip and have some fun. And there's the matches on Sunday and Monday night.
That's awesome.
It really is cool.
And you guys did the Glow Cruise last year, and what is the fan base like? How do they seem to react to you guys? Are you guys like their heroes now? I mean, how do they react to this many years later?
Oh, they were in tears, some of the people who approached us, and they were just happy that we were so down to earth, But, I mean, when you do what you do in a show, I mean, unless you become some crazy superstar, you're just there doing your job, so you don't think of yourself as some sort of anything special,
Yeah.
And when somebody comes at you like that and saying how special you are, it's overwhelming, actually, and humbling.
Oh, awesome. And, I guess the reason why we're probably doing this interview and the reason why the Glow Girls are out there is because of Netflix and the documentary that was done, and, of course, the subsequent new Glow that's on there. I got to ask the girls, because I get different answers from them. How do you feel about the new version of Glow, and how accurate is it to what was really happening with you guys at the time?
It's probably about, maybe 5 to 10% accurate, maybe. But it is fun to watch. I actually like it. The first 4 episodes bored me to tears. I had to force myself past those, and then I really liked it. It's just they had to set everything up, but so anybody who hasn't watched it and saying they can't watch it, just grit your teeth and get past those first 4 episodes. I think you'll like the show.
Awesome. Well, is there any last things you want to promote or mention for your fans to find you on social media, so forth?
Well, I'm on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and just look up my name, Cheryl Rusa, CHERYLRUSA, like United States of America, RUSA. A lot of people think my name is spelled differently in the rear because of LPWA calling me Little Mo Russo.
Yeah.
But it's RUSA, Cheryl. I have a stunt reel out on Vimeo, and you can do the same thing, but don't go to Vimeo and then look me up. Do it from Google. Go put in Vimeo and then my name, CHERYLRUSA, and you can see everything I've been up to for the last, umpteen years with all my stunt work. That's some of my work right there. It's, fun stuff.
Awesome. Well, I apologize for going over time with you a little bit, but I do appreciate you taking the time and doing this with us. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, you're great. Anytime, let me know. Just do what we did. Contact me. And if anybody wants to contact me about work or whatever, let them contact you first. Then I've got a middleman to protect me. How's that?
That sounds like a plan. I'll make a note of that to contact you first and let you put me in contact with the middleman.
No. Yeah, you contact. No, you're my middleman. You contact me.
I thought you said you also had a middleman. I'm thinking there's like 4 steps in that.
No. You're my middleman.
All right, I'll be the middleman. I'm happy to be. Well, again, I thank you so much. I'm sorry for going over time. I know you said you were crunched a little bit, so I do appreciate you taking the extra time with me.
The preceding announcement was paid for by the Wrestling Epicenter.
Time to listen, and if you like what you heard, I'm glad. If you didn't like what you heard, well, go fuck yourself.
Hey, it's Tony Schiavone, and you're listening to the Wrestling Epicenter. And I would stick around, but I'm desperately out of time.